Greetings everyone, I'm Mitch the Third. I want to talk to you about real estate. I know there are a lot of channels out there that talk about real estate, but a lot of them talk about how to get that money together to buy that first property. So I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about is once you get that first property, the best strategies for you as a landlord to make money right away. So for me, the first thing I did was I got into multi-unit properties. Why? Because I didn't want the fear of one tenant not paying their rent and me being stuck with that mortgage payment and those utility payments. So multi-unit was perfect. And the first unit I bought was a 5-unit building, 4 apartments and a closed bar on the bottom floor. That was my first property. My second property, which I want to talk to you guys about, is those demographics that a lot of people overlook. Renting to parolees, renting to college students, and renting to recovering drug addicts. Yes, recovering drug addicts. Those are 3 markets a lot of people don't want to look at. Basically opening a group home or transitional house. I call mine a group home. I want to talk to you guys about how to go about doing that. It's a process. It's not a 1, 2, 3 process. It's not as easy as when you just get a rental property and rent it out to a tenant. No, there's a process involved. So for one, when you rent to people, and there's a lot of high risk involved, but there's also some security that's involved in that. When you rent to parolees, yes, it's high risk. You're renting to someone that you don't know what they did to have gone to jail. You don't know if the person's rehabilitated or what. You're taking a risk, especially if you go into that home if you have access to that home and may encounter that person. And if there's some hostility there or some rent that's not paid or they damage the property, you don't know what you're dealing with. That could be scary. The security of that is, you're in touch with their parole officer. Their parole officer gives you their contact number, so anything happens, you could talk to their parole officer, which also makes them behave a lot of the time. They know that anytime you could pick up that phone and call their parole officer and it's a done deal. So a lot of times they actually behave. Also with those programs, the parolee programs, is they have to submit a home plan, and that has to be approved in order for you to even rent to them, in order for them to get the apartment or the room or whatever you're renting to them. And usually the program will give the inmate maybe something like 3 to 6 months to get their life together. It depends on what their plan, what their parole officer agrees to and what you agree to. And you have to rent to them for that time that you agree to, unless they do something totally egregious. But like I said, the security in that is they act up, you just call their parole officer. What I like about college students is, of course, they're high risk, they're young. They may not be able to hold the job down, and you get them in your apartment. They may throw parties, they may be messy, they may break your things. But what I like about the college crowd also is this non-stop traffic as far as turnover goes. You can replace a tenant very quickly, especially if you get on board with the college and you communicate with the college and the college reaches out to you for housing for their students. That could be a gold mine right there. And I talk to you more about how to go about networking with colleges to make sure that you're one of the first people that come to mind when they have students looking for places to live. Another demographic is recovering addicts, which is a great demographic to appeal to. Why I like renting to recovering addicts, what I like about that crowd is that a lot of them are trying to get on their feet. And the programs that they're in pay the most. A lot of times they don't pay a thing. You have these government agencies that are willing to pay you as a landlord maybe 3 to 6 months, sometimes even 9 months of that person's rent, as long as they get on their feet within that time frame. Yes, they're high risk, but the security in that is, you know that if they don't fulfill their obligation, they're out. And next thing you know, you could rent to the same program and get a new tenant in and do the whole thing all over again. Also, what I like about that is you have that option of getting all your money up front. So if you need to make repairs to the place, you need to furnish the place, you need to do any type of upgrades, you can use that money for that. You could also use that money to go and buy your next property. So there's so much benefits in that. I think that crowd, the recovering addict crowd, in my experience, is one of the most lucrative crowds to appeal to. Also, there's a process to that. Now, if you want to get into the process, yes, we'll talk about it. I'd love to educate you on that. You could contact me. We could talk about it. My information should be in my About Me page. Check me out. Also, don't forget to like this video, please.